No, I ain't killed nobody.
Law and Order Sports is back. Another Chiefs edition. You know how I know God isn't real? He keeps letting the Chiefs win Super Bowls with criminals. A couple weeks ago, Chiefs rookie receiver Rashee Rice was involved in a multi-car accident in Texas. He and his friends were racing, and we have the footage, which you will see today. But this week, a warrant was issued for an arrest for Rice in Texas. O.J. Simpson has died.
Breaking news here in the Sports Center. Orenthal James Simpson, the former football great who was ultimately accused of and then acquitted of the brutal 1994 murders of his ex-wife and her friend Ron Goldman, has died.
One thing I know for sure is that if Rashee Rice were as cautious as O.J. when in a vehicle, he wouldn't be in this mess. And the fact that O.J. outlived Norm Macdonald is a real crime against humanity. But I'll do my best to honor Norm in O.J.'s death.
The first to hit the bookshelves will be Green Eggs and Ham, and O.J. is guilty.
Former NFL linebacker Terrell Suggs was also arrested for assault. And don't you think for a second that I forgot that sneaky bastard got another Super Bowl ring as a member of the Chiefs in 2019 after a late season release by the Cardinals. Today, the 12th man is a jury member and another sad edition of... Now, in uplifting news, O.J. Simpson has passed away. Quite fitting, the announcement of his death is coming in a Law and Order Sports episode. I learned of his death via his Twitter account. For all of those, hello, Twitter worlds.
Hey, Twitter world, it's me, O.J. Mahomes.
We got from O.J., we've been robbed of one goodbye, Twitter world. And if Patrick Mahomes has any soul at all, he will dress as O.J. and give us that. Now, O.J.'s family posted a tweet saying he had lost his battle with cancer. I think we have footage of O.J.'s final moments, don't we? Can we play that? Now, some will say it was the prostate cancer that took him. I will always believe it was ultimately the wet paint.
Oh, no.
It was the wet paint. What does one say about one of the greatest NFL running backs who also probably murdered his ex and her friend? What do you say about the man who had the greatest single-season rushing performance in NFL history, accumulating over 2,000 yards in just 14 games, but also probably murdered 2 people? I think I have to credit comedian Brad Williams with the best O.J. is dead tweet. Finally, O.J. can rest knowing his wife's killer is dead. Oh, and I also like this one. I think ESPN's Jeremy Schaap said it best.
Would have to come to the conclusion that he was a murderer. And so am I filled with sorrow today? I'm not.
And I think Dov Kleiman said it the worst. You can call Jim Brown complicated. You can call Brett Favre complicated. O.J. was not complicated. The murder of 2 people, whether he was acquitted or not, is not a footnote in someone's life. No matter how many yards he ran for in 1973. It's the headline. Also, I think you need to be closer to 3,000 rushing yards in a season to be forgiven for murder. 2,000 will help you get away with it, but 3,000 is the performance threshold for forgiveness, okay? O.J. did serve 9 years in a Nevada prison, but that was for 12 counts of armed robbery and kidnapping of 2 sports memorabilia dealers at gunpoint as a broke-ass O.J. tried to get some of his valuable sports memorabilia back. It's pretty crazy. We live in a world where the only man who actually had the balls to confront O.J. Simpson was Sacha Baron Cohen.
La 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 la! Oh, mamma mia, OJ!
O.J. Simpson goes to his grave never having confessed to the murders. To this day, he swears his biggest regret was drafting Andrew Luck in fantasy the day Andrew Luck retired from football forever.
Andrew Luck, what did I do to you? You could have retired an hour and a half ago before I picked you in my fantasy picks. I mean, what did I do, baby? I've been a fan of yours. Why would you do this to me?
And before you laugh, that was a dynasty league. Now, he never showed remorse or sought forgiveness for his alleged crimes. His last 3 decades were a mockery, saying he was committed to finding the real killer, exploiting his celebrity and his infamy, and living arrogantly under the specter of the grisly crimes for which he committed and then eluded justice for. And he never got to see the Bills win a Super Bowl. Actually, now that he's dead, the Bills might be free to win a Super Bowl.
When he suddenly blurted out, hey, easy with that. That's my lucky stabbing hat.
Former Ravens linebacker Terrell Suggs was arrested in Arizona after he got into an altercation at Starbucks? Terrell, why not simply have a cup of Benchwarmer brew from the comfort of your own home where nobody will annoy you? And trust me, I know the most annoying people on earth are the morning crowd at Starbucks. Benchwarmerbrew.com. My coffee won't threaten to kill you. It will help you shit. Now, Suggs has been booked on threatening, intimidating, and disorderly conduct with a weapon. I understand 2 of those charges, but you can't tell him not to be intimidating. That's just his natural state of being. Suggs was allegedly in his Range Rover, drove past the drive-thru order area, tried to back up and made contact with another vehicle. There was reportedly no damage to either car, but bros being bros still got into an argument, and as Suggs left the Starbucks, he brandished a weapon, a handgun, which in the eyes of the alleged victim was a death threat. All I know is that this would never have happened at a Dutch Bros. The only people getting threatened there are the cheery-ass teens sticking their goddamn face in your car for your order. Now, Suggs is taking an interesting route for his defense here. He was quoted, "I was getting coffee. I was not looking for any trouble. When the man in the other vehicle escalated the situation, I feared for my safety, not knowing what his intentions were. Throughout the incident, I was the one who felt in danger, while fearing I would be followed home and for the safety of my family nearby at my residence." I have a hard time buying the fact that Suggs, a former NFL linebacker, a good one, a violent one, a fearless one, is scared of some random dude in the coffee line. What are you gonna tell me next? O.J. Simpson never cooked at home because he was scared of knives? Get the fuck out of here. In more serious news, Rashee Rice may not be starting the season as a receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to need more information to emerge from his car accident wreck. But he's been currently hit with 8 felony charges, which could lead to several issues with the NFL and its disciplinary process via the personal conduct policy, mainly being nobody still knows how that shit works. Now, from a football standpoint, if Rice misses extended time, that's a big problem for the Chiefs, as we all laughed at how terrible the Chiefs receivers were last year.
Drop passes and things like that, no number 1 wide receiver being led by a tight end and all of that.
The bright spot was their second-round rookie, Rashee Rice. He finished the season with 79 receptions, 938 yards, and 7 TDs, and was honestly a player I was expecting to have a breakout sophomore season, especially with Hollywood Brown there to take the top off the defense. Now, Rice won't even be allowed to take the top off his Corvette. Rice is just 23 years old and is facing 6 counts of collision involving bodily injury, 1 count of collision involving serious bodily injury, and 1 count of aggravated assault according to the warrant. All of the charges are felonies, which is not good. The accident occurred at the end of March, and it involved a rented Lamborghini SUV and a Corvette leased in Rice's name. I thought you had to be at least 40 before you were allowed to drive a midlife crisis car like a Corvette, which legally could make the leasing company liable. Rice and some of the other men who were involved in the crash left the scene of the crime. Always a dumb move, but he since admitted he was indeed driving the Lamborghini.
He has fully cooperated with the Dallas Police Department. Every question that was asked of him, he responded to the Dallas Police Department. And we will continue to cooperate with them in terms of this particular accident. If all of us had to be defined by one incident, then that would be ridiculous as opposed to our entire body of work. So I'd ask that you, as the media, look at his entire body of work before saying exactly who he is. That would be a better, I think, representation of his body, of who he is.
Now, you might remember another former chief, Frank Clark, who had legal car issues a few years back for having Uzis in his Lambo in California. Andy Reid's son just had his drunk driving sentence commuted by the Missouri governor. Pretty cool to be the governor and reward your favorite team's head coach by getting his son out of prison early after he drunk drove his car into another car that seriously injured a 5-year-old girl. Oh, and Britt Reid, where was he heavily drinking before the crash? That's right, the Chiefs facility. Anyway, I mention that because I do think it's fucked up, but also because Reid pled guilty to driving while intoxicated and causing bodily injury. Now that's a different charge in a different state from Rice, and the injuries from Britt Reid's accident were more serious from everything I've read, but the charges are equally serious. The question right now for Rice is which of these charges will stick, and will any or all be settled before they actually go and get to a jury? Rice's accident occurred around 6:30 p.m. on a Texas highway, and since they left the scene of the accident, we do not know if anyone was drinking that was involved in the accident. More charges could come at this point. From what I have gathered, a woman in one of the other cars suffered lacerations to her face. The severity of her injuries are what could eventually turn into a conviction for Rice. Now, this was from an ABC News affiliate in Texas in regard to the victims in the crash. Quote, the couple was angry, and the husband had to crawl out of the back window after this collision. His wife was pulled out of the driver's seat by first responders. She had a very big laceration on her left eye. She's got several stitches that were put in at the hospital, and the eye socket is completely swollen in black and blue. So in Texas, collision involving injury carries a penalty of imprisonment in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for not more than 5 years, or confinement in the county jail for not more than 1 year, a fine not to exceed $5,000 or both. Collision involving serious bodily injury, a third-degree felony, carries a punishment of imprisonment in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice of not more than 10 years or less than 2 years. Aggravated assault, a second-degree felony, is punishable by 2 to 20 years in prison and a fine of up to $10,000. Those are the charges that could be facing Rice. Rice is cooperating with the police. He has apologized for his actions and now waits to see what his future holds. It will be really messed up, though, if he receives a longer sentence than OJ did for, murder. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube. If you haven't yet, make sure you check out the Drake May episode. It's our last college QB episode before the draft.
We want to get OJ acquitted as speedily as possible so he can get back to doing what he does best, killing people.